Seven Wonders Architects Metals review. Fenirob over here, Superjohn over there. Well, they've added some stuff. You talked about what the differences were. We'll put that up in a video here. You can get the link over there. Now, let's talk about this. I think Seven Wonders is a great game and a game that plays, up to seven players?
That's correct.
And for that kind of a game, it really does play as quickly and efficiently as any other game that I've ever played. I mean, it's right up there with easy games like No Thanks. No Thanks is awesome at 7 players, but this game it feels a little bit more heavy than that, even though it's really not. But adding the expansion in somehow made it even better to me. You've got the medals are really cool because they let you snatch points early. They give you goals during the game to try to get 4 points when you can get it, and this game is pretty huge.
Yeah, so I think the base game is great for gamers and non-gamers. If you it takes a little bit of explaining, about I'd say 5 minutes at the most, and then a little bit in the game. You've got these options, things like that. But I have played it with family who do not like games and they've enjoyed themselves, so they figured out. I would say kind of the difference is with the medals in the middle. There's another thing to think about. So maybe you want to play with people who've played the regular base game before.
Got it.
For the medals. That being said, great game, not a lot to think about. I could come in and sit down and play this game. For a big group, the pacing factor is you're waiting on the guy who's always the slowest person or the gal who's always got analysis paralysis.
But still, 45 minutes?
Yeah, at the most for a 7-player game. The medals, if you've played this game and you like it, play with the medals. I think you would really enjoy the medals. It adds another dimension in terms of, do I want to build? Do I want to get points? Okay, progress helps me out. War helps me out. Now I've got another thing that tries to balance all those. So it gives you some, for those players who aren't sure what to do, these medals have some options there to say, hey, maybe not knowing what to do is okay. Maybe you can have a lot of cards and get 4 points. It gives you where the game will go off the rails to one person or whatever. This kind of brings it back to a center, makes it a closer game, I think.
Well, this is going to be a weird comparison, but if you've ever been bowling before, there's these arrows at the front of a bowling lane that no one seems to really understand why they're there. But the concept is if you aim for a particular arrow, you have a better chance of being able to muscle memory your way into getting something that will turn into being a strike if you do it consistently correctly. I feel like the medals sort of focus you on something, and it may turn out that if you're going for something smaller, like getting one of these in front of you or getting 3 of these in front of you, that you may actually get to the longer term goals in the game without even realizing it. So as a new player, I say a new player, someone who's played the game once or twice, then you add in the medals expansion, that player might somehow accidentally, I guess, work their way to having a grand strategy that ends up winning the game because they're focused on something short term.
So the other thing I'll point out about this game that's good is that the points don't swing unless you build your wonder.
Yes.
Building your wonder gives you a big point, but it takes a lot of resources to do that. When you fight for medal, this takes 4 cards to get you 4 points. This card you draw off the top it's 3 points automatically. Right. So there's a good balance between strategy and luck, and that 3 points, hey, that's great. Yeah, but that 3 points could be part of the token to get you another 4 points, which is the same as the 7 points here. So there's a good balance in keeping the points clustered to where no matter what you do, I would be curious to see if we would play with a random card generator as a third player to see how many points they get in comparison to a good, because at some point you can just do something and fall into points. So the expansion clusters those points closer together, I think.
But we've played Seven Wonders Architect dozens of times.
Probably 20, 30 times,
for
sure.
So it's pretty obvious to me that adding the medals with more players would just enhance the experience. It wouldn't slow it down. Once you know what's out there, because, I mean, basically, if you don't play with the experience variant, that adds 2 to the middle of the table where everyone can participate in that. If you just have the one to your left or your right, you're focused on that. You really don't need to worry about, you can't even affect what happens to the player across the table to prevent them. All you can do is alert their neighbor to go, well, if you don't take that card, they're about to score 7 points.
So that's a great point. One of the things about playing a bigger game is across the table, there are people I cannot impact at all. I could take a top draw, but it doesn't really matter.
Right.
It's my choice. I can't impact their game at all. At a 2-player or 3-player game, I'm impacting everyone else. Maybe even a 4-player I can impact. But yeah, at a multiple players, that person's playing their own game. I'm playing my own game, and we don't.
Right.
It's just whatever comes available to me.
And I think that's a reflection of the original Seven Wonders with the same thing, where you're fighting with people to the left and the right, and you're drafting cards. And any kind of Seven Wonders situation, they do a really good job of keeping you almost focused on your geographically near neighbor, which is kind of cool. We've played this at 7 players multiple times as well. And can you see a downside of adding the medals to the left or the right to someone who's played this game a couple of times?
No, I think the medals are great because it gives the opportunity to do something else when you feel like you're falling behind. Hey, I've got something else I can chase.
You might be losing, but at least you feel like you've accomplished something. And maybe, again, you might luck your way into drawing something. I mean, if you could pull this off in a game and get 16 points, that's a huge amount of points.
So here's my question. 7 Wonders plays, it has 7 different groups that come with it. We've added 2 to it. Can I now play the game? Would it work with 9 players?
I don't know. I don't think it says that in the rules.
Yeah, so I'd be pretty sure the middle deck would draw out.
Right.
It would go away. But 9 players seems pretty hectic and like a long game. It would almost get away from the
I think
point
so.
of the game.
I can't think of a single game that feels fun at 9 players. Even Werewolf starts to get a little. One Night Werewolf starts to wear out at that many players.
One night, shoot me in the head, please. I don't want to play. But we've got a few things where we get together where there are 8 people and what games are available. 7 Wonders is just right there on the edge.
Camel Up is close.
Yeah, maybe you could play this way, but at 8 players, you're kind of. Do we really want to play a big involved game? This game manages to mix the self strategy versus what somebody else is doing. In the last playthrough we had, fenirob was trying to fend me off at a few occasions, and it worked for him. He did well. With this one, though, it's got a good balance between I'm trying to build my own versus fend somebody off. So if you get more players, I think that goes away.
I agree. I don't think I want to play it at 9. Although now, challenge accepted, I don't think so. I still don't want to. I've played all the 7 Wonders games. I've played 7 Wonders Duel, which is a great game except for the setup part at the beginning. As a 2-player game, I think I'd still play this one. And with the medals added to it, I think it makes it even more reinforcing that this is not a bad 2-player game at all. It's actually pretty fun.
Yes, so 7 Wonders Architect, the base game, and with the expansion, plays well as a 2-player game. You just have to have someone who enjoys playing games. And we'll do 2 or 3 and best of 2. If you got somebody who just wants to waste time, go read a book or go for a hike or something like that. But this is a great game for gamers and also for people who want to spend a little time at the table and getting together. Adding the expansion, I think for anyone who's played the base game and really likes it, the expansion really heightens it. It doesn't
no downside at all.
Doesn't take away from it, heightens it, gives you some more things you can do. And the good thing about this game is you always feel like you're in it a little bit. Even when there's a blowout, you're still not completely out of the game. Just 1 or 2 cards would have changed that outcome.
And also the components and the way everything fits into these boxes still amazes me. Even with the new ones with the medals, it has its own box where all of them go in. I think you have it over there. Yeah, so the medals fit into this box, 3 each. So, I mean, really, everything about this is, you want to play with the medals? Great. Take that out of the expansion box. You don't want to play with the medals? Just leave it in there. There's no... the only thing you have to really join up is the progress tokens. But frankly, I would play with those with just the base game. You don't need Roman or to use those. You don't have to have the expansion.
The expansion in order for these progress tokens to matter. These are separate
right.
from these colonies.
The ongoing cat token, we have not seen that But the idea of knowing that if you have this progress token, you always can look at the center card is amazing. The one with the horns that don't go away on the combat cards, on the shields, is another aspect of strat. It just adds cool little tweaks that you don't need them to enjoy the game. The base game of this, perfectly fine on its own, great. Some games, sometimes people say, oh, well, you have to play with the expansion. I don't think you have to play with the expansion with this one. But for me, there's no reason, as a lover of the base game, not to have the expansion.
So I would say to the viewer, there's actually in this expansion pack 3 separate expansions that can all be explored separately. One is we've got some progress tokens to add to the game. They have nothing to do with the rest of the expansion. You can add those in and just be happy. Same thing for the new cities that come out, Rome and Ur, depending on how you say it. You can add those in separately. They don't. Right. The medals, you can add these in separately. All 3 of these are separate entities that add something to the game that you don't have to do them together. You can do them independently if you so desire.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love it. Great job. This is a great game. Great expansion. That's all I got. Thanks for watching. Please like this video. Subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to watch all of our playthroughs.